Welcome back, everyone. In this video, we are going to the land of Lincoln, Springfield, Illinois, that is, to walk around Lincoln Presidential Museum. Lincoln has always fascinated me, along with the Civil War. This was back in September of 2020. I wasn't doing any video then, so this is just going to be still shots as I walk you through and give you a little bit of brief history. I hope you enjoy. As you drive through downtown Springfield on your way to the museum, one of the first things you're going to see is the old state capitol. Here Lincoln served in the State House of Representatives, where he gave his famous speech, "A house divided will not stand," but that's for a video later. The next thing I seen as I was driving up was this 31-foot statue by Stuart Johnson called the Return Visit. It's been on display for the last couple years at the museum. As you walk into the museum, you're greeted by the Lincolns themselves, in front of the 1861 full-scale replica of the portico of the White House. First exhibits are that of Lincoln before he was president. You can see here the cabin he would have grown up in. Lincoln was known to only have a year of any kind of formal education. He also taught himself to read. This picture shows him as what he possibly looked like as a 9-year-old boy, as there was no pictures of him back then. It was said Lincoln enjoyed reading by the dying embers of the fire while the rest of his family sleeps. While in his 20s, Lincoln lived in the small village of New Salem, where he made his living as a boatman, a general store owner, a postmaster, surveyor, rail splitter, and was elected to Illinois' General Assembly. While as a boatman traveling up and down the Mississippi River, he witnessed several scenes like this in the South of the slave trade. While during their courtship, Mary's sister Elizabeth once said Mary led the conversation. Lincoln would listen and gaze on her as if drawn by some superior power. It was a little bit known that Lincoln gave his sons Willie and Tad a lot of freedom. Enough where they could be known to be a little bit on the wild side, as seen in this exhibit. Lincoln would say nothing, so blinded was he to his children's faults. William Herndon, Lincoln's law partner. This exhibit shows one of the famous Lincoln-Douglas debates. There was a series of 7 debates for the 1858 Illinois Senate campaign, which in the end Lincoln lost. But in 1860, Lincoln does beat Stephen Douglas to become the 16th President of the United States. Right before walking into the White House, you'll see 2 of President Lincoln's generals. The one on the left would be George McClellan, that he did fire, and in 1864 McClellan would run against him for the presidency. The one on the right would be the 18th President of the United States, Ulysses S. Grant. As you start the tour through the White House, you are greeted by none other than First Lady Mary Todd Lincoln herself. You will also see several dresses on the back wall of her from other well-known ladies from that time period. In the next room, you see all the political cartoons from that time period of President Lincoln. The room is also a little off-kilter. The picture frames are crooked, the doorways are crooked. The Lincolns lost their beloved Willie while living in the White House. "It was hard to have him die," said President Lincoln. It would also be 3 weeks before Mary would leave her bed and would never enter his room again. President Lincoln wouldn't show any emotions publicly, but it was said that he would sit in Willie's room alone and mourn the loss of his little boy. Here we see President Lincoln and his cabinet members as he introduces the 13th Amendment to them. This room is also known as the famous Lincoln bedroom. Lincoln actually never slept in this room. It was just his own personal office where he met with his cabinet members. Here we see a painting of the Battle of Gettysburg and Lincoln giving those famous 269 words known as the Gettysburg Address.
77 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation, or any nation so conceived and so dedicated, can long endure.
When I came across the painting of the second inaugural, I was reminded of the last paragraph of President Lincoln's inaugural address. I'll read here. With malice towards none, with charity for all, with firmness in the right, as God gives us to see the right, let us strive on to finish the work we are in, to bind up the nation's wounds, to care for him who shall have borne the battle, and for his widow and his orphan, to do all which may achieve and cherish a just and a lasting peace amongst ourselves and with all nations. Here we see that sorrow night at Ford's Theater, where the President and First Lady watch Our American Cousin when John Wilkes Booth sneaks in under the laughter of the crowd to assassinate the President. We see how the funeral might have looked at the old state capitol where Lincoln started his political career before being laid to rest at Oak Ridge Cemetery. I think Secretary of War Edwin Stanton said it best. Now he belongs to the ages.